Welcome to episode 3 of Uncovering the More, where we will uncover the more to your step. I stared at my grades after completing nursing level 2. I had failed the semester by 4 points. I went from shocked to angry, then deeply disappointed and sad. I cried my eyes out and I thought, who was I to think that I could become a registered nurse at my age? A woman who barely made it out of high school with C's and D's and showed no interest in the human body or any science for that matter. I didn't think about the fact that I made all A's, B's, and 1 C to qualify to get into the program. I thought in my mind I must have been lucky because the truth is I thought and was convinced that I wasn't smart enough to become a nurse. I waited to call my husband to break the news to him once I thought I was all cried out because he hated to hear me cry. But as soon as I heard his voice, I broke down again, barely able to get the words out as the tears again poured from my eyes. I felt like a fool. Of course he encouraged me, and I told him that I could immediately speak with the counselor to retake the semester. I thought about all of my classmates that were going on without me. I later found out that my friend had failed too. She re-enrolled, but she chose the night classes and I chose the day. Not to mention that I did nursing clinicals at the hospital where my mom worked, and the staff had gotten to know me as Debbie's daughter who was studying to be a registered nurse. My mom had been chosen as Employee of the Year twice at her hospital, and there was no way that I would go back to that hospital and embarrass her. She encouraged me too, and she said if I wanted to come back, it would be okay. But there was no way I was going to do that. Here I was, a woman in my 40s, afraid to embarrass my mom. You see, it never crossed my mind to become a nurse. I was perfectly content to continue working as a nursing assistant. I started out as a home health aide, then I became a CNA at a nursing home, then a CNA at a long-term acute care hospital, to finally working as a patient care technician in a local hospital. The nurses there all encouraged me to go back to school to become a registered nurse, but I never thought I was smart enough. My husband even encouraged me to go for it, but I shut it down until one day I was at my church leading praise and worship service when I fell into a deep worship and I heard a still small voice inside me say that I was going to be a registered nurse. I cried and fell to my knees in worship as I knew that it was what I was called to do. So the next week I went to the local community college to find out what I needed to do. My guidance counselor was amazing. She charted my course all the way through the nursing program, from anatomy and physiology 1 and 2 to microbiology and finally statistics. I applied and was chosen for the program. It wasn't that way at first because many people, unintentionally of course, discouraged me because they said that it was very hard to get into the program, and since I got a C in statistics, that I probably wouldn't be chosen. But I had one good friend tell me to go ahead and apply anyway because she said all they can do is say no. And she was right. What did I have to lose? So I did apply, and I got accepted to start the spring session. When I started school, I was walking Monday through Thursday in my student uniform back and forth from work to home, and when people saw me, they stopped me, and they asked my advice about how to get into the program because when they applied, they couldn't get in. I told them that I just applied, but in their mind, they said they got A's, B's, and C's, so that was the reason why they thought they didn't get in. They assumed that I had straight A's, but I said no, I didn't do any better than they did. But I did give God all the glory, and I encouraged them to apply again. I also knew that God had purpose for me as a registered nurse. Whatever that was, I did not fully understand yet. While in nursing school, I had to work every weekend at the hospital. I had to keep my part-time status in order to continue getting my health benefits. The nurses there were so encouraging. I was on the float team, and whatever topic we were studying in school, they floated me to that unit. When we studied about the urinary system, I was able to learn about that on that unit. When we were talking about the heart, I was floated to the cardiac unit. I went to the cardiac cath lab and ICU. I went to the emergency room several times and med surg, which was a floor of all different types of problems and issues. They floated me to the acute care unit, and I was floated everywhere, even to the mental health facility and the women's hospital with mom and baby. God set me up every time, so I had to press on. I had to keep going because purpose was evident all around me. God had a work for me to do. And even though I didn't believe I was smart enough, step by step, with tutoring, working with my study group, watching YouTube videos, going to the lab after class to practice on the mannequins, all of that was a tremendous help. And many, many dummy type books, like Nursing for Dummies or Med Surg for Dummies. All the way through, I had many dummy moments. While walking through the college, I saw many of my former classmates, and I felt bad because I was supposed to be in the level with them, but I had to keep going. Also in college, one of the challenges that I had during clinicals was placing IVs. I was very timid and nervous, and I was scared to stick to patients. The younger students had so much confidence. They were the ones that asked all the questions. They were the ones that in sim lab they assumed their roles. They were a part of the rapid response team, and they read cardiac rhythms, and they were very fearless, and they did not have a lot of reservation. But me, I lagged in the back. However, when it came to patient care, the younger students were more timid because they didn't feel comfortable bathing, sick patients or changing soiled, their soiled underclothes. They didn't understand how to use the Hoyer lifts to transfer patients. And, I had that comfort. I did this every weekend. I changed bedpans, I changed bed linens while they were in the bed, and I emptied urinals. I was good. Actually, I was excellent at patient care. However, my instructions had to constantly redirect me outside my comfort zone. One of my instructors told me that I knew how to be a nursing assistant, and that was fine. But I was in nursing school to learn more about being a nurse. In class, there were two of us that were in our 40s, and we kind of bonded because both of us worked as nursing assistants on the weekend. We were both married. We both had children. Mine were grown, and her children were teenagers. We both encouraged each other. But sometimes I think we discouraged each other too, because when we were in the hospital clinicals, we were always looking around thinking, I'm not doing this. Both of us decided that we're going to find a day clinic or something like that because the hospital, it was a lot. But after we graduated, we did quite well. She still works in the hospital, and she served as charge nurse, and she's worked in the ICU. I am a care manager, and we've only been nurses for 6 years. A few of our other students that failed level 2 also, they still work in the hospital. They work in the ICUs, the cardiac floor, the neurology floor, and even one of our nurse classmates became a nurse practitioner, and he works in the emergency room. All of us in our own way who failed level 2 are excelling now in our chosen field of nursing. All of us worked during the COVID pandemic in the hospital setting too, which I will share more about in another episode. What a sad time it was. I worked in the long-term acute care hospital, taking care of patients in ventilators, tube feeding machines, dialysis, with all kinds of lines and tubes in and through them. I have worked on the Code Blue team and responded to numerous rapid response codes. I have performed CPR several times, and I've held many patients' hands. The families trusted me to care for their loved ones. I set up FaceTime for families that weren't allowed to see their loved ones during the COVID restrictions. And I remember leaving my day shift to returning the next morning, not knowing if my patient was going to still be alive or not, because truth is, sometimes I came back the next morning and overnight they took a turn for the worse and they either died or they were rushed to the ICU. All in all, I knew that this was what I was called to do, and I was grateful that I became a registered nurse. Even after not having any aspirations as a child, God saw my purpose when I didn't see it myself. So, what is your more, as it involves a career change or a vocation aspiration? Or is there a calling that you feel that you're not smart enough to accomplish? You have more growth potential than you know. Psalm 139:14 lets me know that I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and God's works is marvelous. Romans 8:37 reminds me that I am more than a conqueror through Christ that loves me. Conquer meaning I overcome obstacles and opposition, according to Webster's Dictionary. Romans 4:13 lets me know that I'm resilient because I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can be up and I can be down. I can be rich and I can be poor. I can be sick and I can be well. I can adapt, shift, and pivot to the situation before me. So, what do you believe you can do? And what is your mindset? On my bookshelf is a book titled Mindset: The New Psychology of Success, How We Can Learn to Fulfill Our Potential by Carol S. Dweck, Ph.D. She studies two mindsets that people can have: a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. She writes, when you enter a mindset, you enter a new world. In one world, the world of fixed traits, success is about proving you're smart or talented, validating yourself. In the other world of challenging qualities, it's about stretching yourself to learn something new, developing yourself. End of quote. Just take the steps. I learned if you take a step, the next one is revealed to you. Never stop. I look at Nora Langdon, who at 81 years old is a power lifter. You can Google search her. As I found her on CNN Instagram Reel, at the time she held the squat record of 413 pounds, the bench press record at 203 pounds, and the deadlift record of 425 pounds in her age group. Wow, I was amazed. In my mind, I'm thinking, and I usually think about this about myself. I think about Angela Bassett, how fit she is, and think about her muscular arms in the movie Wakanda Forever. Then I think about Viola Davis, her toned physique in The Woman King. And then I look at myself and I say, girl, there's hope for you. I remember coming across a Facebook post some time ago about a woman by the name of Sarah Simpkins, who at 102 years old earned her college degree in early childhood education, alongside her granddaughter in May of 2024. She died a month later, but only after she realized her dream. I'm also encouraged by Ernestine Shepard, who decided to become physically fit in her 50s and later became an award-winning bodybuilder. She didn't start out that way. She had to believe in herself. She had to become determined, and she had to press her way through, even after suffering the death and tragedy of her loved ones, feeling lost, sometimes angry with God, and at times feelings of loneliness. In her book titled Determined, Dedicated, Disciplined to be Fit, she writes, after my sister died, I suffered with deep depression, panic attacks, acid reflux, insomnia, bouts of crying uncontrollably, and I was walking the floor in the wee hours of the morning. End of quote. She writes about her feelings after her sister, who had started her health and fitness journey with her, had died. They were very close. I won't spoil the book for you, but it's a very encouraging read for anyone that needs it. It lets you know that physical fitness is within your grasp if you want it. Although I'm not there yet, I hold an image in my mind of myself in a more healthier and more physically fit body because, truth is, I find it embarrassing to discuss with my patients the importance of being a healthy weight, talking to them about nutritious and eating low sodium and low refined foods and sugars, talking to them about the effects of exercise on health, wellness, disease prevention, and progression, while all the while being overweight myself. Don't misunderstand me. I still provide education to my patients. However, I also encourage them that we all have our struggles, but we are responsible for our health and what goes into our bodies and what we do with our bodies. The decisions we make yesterday reflect our current state of being, and the decisions we make today will determine our tomorrow. Again, I ask you, what is your more? I have to encourage myself saying these affirmations on a regular basis. I can do hard things. I am smart enough. I will accomplish my daily goals. I am more than a conqueror. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I will have what I say. Blessings and favor surround me. Goodness and mercy follows me. And many, many more. I have lists and categories of affirmations that I speak over my life. There are so many books about speaking positive affirmations that you can use yourself. They come from scripture, they come from life coaches and educators, and they also come from mentors and preachers. And no, it's not a secret. It's for all who dare to step out on faith. You have to believe that you are capable, and you have to believe that you're smart enough. Period.